A dash of mystery, a sparkle of magic, and all things cozy. Join your host, Elle Hartford, for Cozy Alchemy, a proud member of the Authors on the Air network. Hello and welcome to Cozy Alchemy, the podcast all about cozy, dubious books. I'm Elle, and my guest today is Jenn McKinlay, and we'll get to her wonderful books in just a minute. But first, Jenn is going to start us off with two truths and a lie.
All right. Okay. I eat dessert for breakfast.
Okay.
And I'm known for that. I have an amazing sense of direction. That's two. Never lost. And I'm getting my glider pilot's license. So.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, those
wow! Ooh.
I have the logbook in, so you have to figure out which one's
Those okay. I feel like those are three really fun ones. Never lost would be helpful if you're going to be a glider pilot. But dessert for breakfast just sounds delicious. I'm going to say that number 2 is the lie. That's my guess.
You got it! Oh, God.
Thank you.
I actually have a horrible sense of I'm not allowed to go to the mall by myself. My family was like, no, one of us has to go with you because we'll never see you again. That's fair.
No. How does that translate to being in the air, though? Is it easier?
Well, then you can see everything, you know? That's how I need to approach the mall.
Yeah.
I need to be like, airlifted through the mall, you know?
Yeah. You need the bird's eye
even
view.
if I try to preemptively do that, okay, my gut says to go this way, so I'll go that way. I will be wrong. It's almost it's mystical how bad it is.
Oh man. Oh. Which I mean also could be useful in like a mystery sort of way in terms of like stumbling into crime scenes.
Sure.
Or clues.
I would be the type to do it. It actually gives it a base of, wrong place, wrong time.
Nice. Well, okay, and that begs one more question, which is, what is your favorite dessert for breakfast?
Oh, hands down, chocolate cake. Just a well-made, delicious, you cannot have a bad day if you start with chocolate cake, in my opinion. And I don't cook. My husband's the cook, but I bake, so I do all the baking, he does all the cooking. And I will bake with what do I want to eat this week, That seems like a nice breakfast. And then you burn all the calories by noon, so you're good.
Fair enough. I'm going to have to try this. We'll have to test it scientifically to see if that's true.
Yes.
Yeah. Right, but to get to business, your new book, Witches of Dubious Origin, is coming out at the end of this month when this podcast airs. Can you tell us a little bit about it to get us started?
Yeah, Witches, I actually have my arc right here. No, this is, maybe it's the final one. Isn't it pretty?
Very nice. Pretty. It is. It has a very good cover. Yeah.
I mean, I want to live in it, so they did a great job. Witches came about, it's kind of a long story, so I'll try to keep it, short, so I'm not holding you hostage.
No worries.
Because I will hold you hostage. Because authors are lonely. We're alone all the time, so we get a person or a crowd, and we're like, no, you can't.
You're going to talk. Yeah.
So Witches came about weirdly, it's kind of like what I call from a spite project. So 3 or 4 years ago, my agent asked me to write some novellas just strictly for audio. Like Audible was looking for original content. And so I came up with these ideas. They told me they liked Valentine's Day, summer, Christmas, short, 25,000 words. And I had never written a novella, so I thought, this will be amazing. I'll give it a go. Trying a shorter form. And so I wrote up the ideas, was super excited, and then my agent submitted them. And Audible was just like, well, we love the ideas, but, her audio sales aren't what we would like, so we're going to pass. Oh. And I had put in a lot of work on these, and I was excited about them. So I have a theory that youngest borns, and I'm a youngest born, we're always trying to keep up with everybody. So the easiest way to get us to do something is tell us that we can't. Watch.
Fair.
So I just made it. I'm like, I'm writing them anyway. And nice. I did, and I hired a professional editor because my publishing house doesn't really do novellas, and a cover artist, so we had a great time with it, and they were wonderful, and I have actually hired them to do other projects that are just in my head. And
cool. My
agent reached out to me and she said, because now I'd loaded them up, and she was like, what is this? And I said, oh yeah, I just decided to write them anyway. And she was like, you're supposed to tell me these things. Cat, so I came to visit. Yeah, he's a handful. But so she said, well, do you want me to try and sell the audio rights? And I was like, yeah, why not? And I was so petty and spiteful. I was going to do the audio, not myself because nobody needs to listen to this, but be a professional to do it, like hire an actor. And then that seemed like a lot of work. So, like, I have spite, but it only goes so far, and then it runs out. So she pitched them, and then they went to auction, which was amazing. So in the end, I got what I wanted. I got the audio, and I got the books out. And long story short, and you're like, what does this have to do with Witches of Dubious Origin? I actually have, these are the 3 novellas, if I can get them.
Okay.
And they came out like,
okay, yeah.
And then I put them in one book because I couldn't justify.
Cute.
I couldn't justify printing them. Like I'm very environmental. Like I'm a big thrifty, recycle, reuse, repurpose. My parents just raised it that way, and it's just in my soul. So I couldn't justify using the paper on a novella. So I was like, well, omnibus, I'll put them all 3, then it's one book, and if it's, print on demand, we're not making a ton of copies that are going nowhere.
Yeah.
So when I was writing these, they're set in a place that I made up. All 3 of them are standalone but connected. They happen in the same setting, which is a museum of literature, which I made up and I shoved on Museum Mile in New York City. And when I was writing these, I kind of wrote the library or the museum I always wanted to live in. So you work in, So it's artifacts and cool stuff. And like when you walk into it, there's a huge life-size statue of Athena, the goddess of knowledge or whatever. And just everything I ever wanted, I shoved in there. And one of the things I shoved in was this crazy department called Books of Dubious Origin. And the staff showed up when I was writing it. It's Miles and Olive and Tariq, and they're all super smart and a little weird, And I loved them. And I kind of put in that their department was, books that were magical and strange, and they were in charge of it. And then, those came out, and it was great, and I was on to the next rom-com mystery. But I couldn't let it go. I'm just like, I really want to be back in that Books of Dubious Origin department. So then I wrote up a proposal and I sent it to my agent. And she was like, oh yeah, we're doing this.
Nice.
And then it was great. And then my publisher, I'm really lucky because a lot of authors get published, say, in mystery, and they're really not allowed to change lanes. So I was in mystery, and then I wanted to do rom-coms, and now I want to do fantasy. And every time my publisher's been like, okay.
Nice, yeah.
So I'm really lucky. I'm very lucky. I love writing in all 3 genres. It's, they each have their different challenges. But the fantasy one was just, I grew up reading, C.S. Lewis and, Dragons of Pern and all that. And I love fantasy, but I always felt like the world building was too hard. So this kind of gave me an opportunity to try it in a world I had already created by accident. So
that's perfect. It all works out. That's so cool how it all comes around.
Very long answer to your question, but yeah.
No worries at all, especially because you kind of anticipated my next question, which was this question of switching genres or jumping genre borders, as you were saying. You have the cozy mystery and the rom-com, of course, and so has fantasy always been kind of like on the back burner, like, oh, maybe one day, or
yeah, it was, but it's. I don't know if other writers, I think most writers walk around with imposter syndrome all the time. You're always like, I can't come up with something new. It's all been done before. For my writing journey, I'm a genre reader. I used to say I don't read literature because it's boring, but that's a lie because I realized I love Madeline Miller and I love Percival Everett, and I'm like, okay, you do read literature.
Yeah.
Not very much. I read the good stuff. But
Nice.
I'm a genre girl. To me, life is hard, and reading is my reward at the end of the day. Because when you're a writer and you're doing words all day, what I read at the end of the day is I want it to be my escape. So if I need like if I'm writing mysteries, I'm reading romance, and if I'm writing romance, I'm reading fantasy, and so I'm always I don't want to have someone's voice in my head when I'm working on the same genre.
Yeah.
So for me, I think I started in romance. This is okay. Genre jumping. I started in romance.
Okay.
I thought it would be easy. Romance writer right now, like, you dumbass. Because it's not. I think the thing with romance that people don't appreciate is, for me, it's not about a romance. It's about your heroine and your hero learning to love themselves. And a lot of the way they do that is seeing themselves through their kindred spirit, soulmate, whatever, their eyes. That lens gives them the opportunity to love themselves. So I've always approached romances from the perspective of it is a romance, whether it's her and him, or him and him and her, or whoever. It's them learning to love themselves. That's the romance to me. Now,
cool.
They're never supposed to be apart for more than a couple pages. That's kind of a tried and true romance thing. In a solid romance, not with a genre bend like romantasy, but romance. They should never be apart for more than a few pages. Okay, 300 pages where they're never supposed to be apart, but they're supposed to have authentic conflict. It can't just be a misunderstanding. That's hard. Like, I actually have a harder time. I have a harder time writing romance than I do fantasy or mystery, because, like, fantasy, you have magic and other beings and quests, and that moves your plot. And murder mysteries, you have a dead body that moves your plot along. And in the romance, you just have emotion, and it has to be authentic, otherwise it's not very good. So, yeah. They each have their challenge, for sure. But ironically, I thought romance would be easy. It was the hardest. Then I got into mysteries. I didn't think I was smart enough to write mysteries. I'm like, you have to have suspects and red herrings. You have to know who did it, or how do you get there? And then I got lucky. I fell into cozy mysteries, which kind of gave me a safer space to kind of write mysteries. I don't know that I would have thrived in thriller. I don't like darkness. Everything has to have humor for me. Otherwise, I don't do well if there's no jokes. Life is so hard.
Fair.
I need to be making fun of everything all the time. Otherwise, I don't think I can get up and eat my chocolate cake in the morning. So I was intimidated by mysteries, and then I managed it. So that was kind of like, oh. So then when fantasy came along, and it was so organic, like it just was a side thing and another, I was like, oh, maybe I can build a world. And now I'm writing the second one, and I'm having a blast. So.
Woohoo! That's so cool. Nice. I know. I so, like, in my own author journey, like, I came like the opposite direction, where I was writing a bunch of fantasy and then went to mystery, and had that same thing of like, oh my god, I'd never thought about world building in fantasy. That seemed normal, but like clues and red herrings, like,
it's hard.
Like,
you gotta have a twist, and people don't want to see it coming, but then you have to have it make it really logical. Yeah, it's intimidating.
Yeah. Exactly. But since we're kind of on the subject, like, aside from the world building, were there any challenges that you found in writing fantasy?
Weirdly, the challenges were kind of unexpected, and this is where having an editor is just really, and my editor and I have been together for like 60 books now, so she knows me, she knows my voice. She can be really blunt in her comments, because I do like things to be funny. That's right, not funny.
Oh, well, that's helpful.
So, I mean, but, but the beauty of her, like, because she's been with, and she hadn't edited fantasy, I think, before we took, and I dedicated the book to her, because it's as much hers as mine, because when I started writing it, I wrote it as a mystery, and there is a mystery in it. There's also a romance. They're lesser than, like, the fantasies, the the big part, and those are lesser. But I was writing it in the mindset of a mystery author, and she would put in little notes like, if this is a fantasy, couldn't like some magic be in here? Couldn't they? Like, and I was like, oh, yeah, they could. You know, like I was actually doing like deep dives into diseases and why they happen and the DNA, and she's like, I know, I think you need a magical reason for the, and I was like, so yeah, so that was kind of an unexpected challenge. I was like, oh, it really is a whole new hat to wear, and
Yeah.
that was unexpected. But I feel like I came back and like I was like, all right, I'm opening up the gate, and I threw in so much, and it was so much fun. And then I was like, oh, this is why fantasy authors are happy. You know, this is actually a ball. You know, you don't have to base it on a police report. You can just, you know, put in a ghoul and make it all whatever. So yeah, so that was my challenge, to like actually switch my brain.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And yet you don't have to worry about a reader going, it couldn't happen that way. It doesn't happen that way in real life, because it's like, yeah, well, in my world it does.
Yeah, I made the world, so. Yeah.
I make the rules. But kind of like, it's fun because we get to discover this world alongside Zoe, right? Your protagonist. Yeah. And she's obviously learning a lot as she's going along, and changing. Did you know from the beginning, like, what her arc was going to be, or did she surprise you too?
She did. Again, this is where my editor comes in. I had her with a much bigger chip on her shoulder, and I didn't ground her. You know, I don't want to give too much away, obviously, but there's a reason that she's kind of like we'll say she's magic resistant. Even though she's aware of it, she's very resistant in the beginning. And in the beginning, I had her unaware of it, which was a much bigger challenge to write it that way. So my editor was, you know, maybe she has a clue, and I was like, okay, yeah, oh yeah, much better. And I kind of had her with a kind of a bitterness to her, instead of I think what she kind of comes out with is more of a wonder. Like, she does have things she has to come to terms with, like why she is the way she is, and they just felt more relatable in the end, like a little bit more I don't know, poignant. Whereas before, I just had her. She just had some attitude. So, you know, and that's why I feel like it's so important to get input from others when you're creating, because they can, you know, you write from your own lens. Like, my life really dictates who my characters are and why they are the way they are. And sometimes it's just the state of the world. Like, if I'm having a, you know, perimenopausal rage day, my characters might, you know, be a little salty. And I have to realize that, you know, well, but my readers are in their 20s. They have no idea what's coming for them. And maybe I need to make this character a little bit more accessible, you know, so. Yeah. So, there's that.
Got it. Well, I also feel like, coming back around to like what you were saying about humor and everything, that's probably a little easier if the characters aren't like super bitter and upset about things.
I like good sarcasm. I like a little bit of snark, but you don't want to be like hammered on, you know what I mean? So
yeah. You don't need it all the time.
Exactly.
Fair. And I just have to ask, because you have and now, you mentioned that like the museum, like, and that it's the sort of place that you would like to work, right? Or do you have a background in museums and libraries or anything like that before?
My background in museums is my parents dragging me to every single one as a kid. Like, my parents were arty types, so it was like, you know, a lot of museums, which were awesome. And now when I travel, I go to the museums, because when you're brought up with it, it just kind of, we have to check out the museum and the library. The library, I'm retired, but I was a librarian for like 20 years, mostly part-time, because I wanted to be a writer too. So I only took a part-time gig as a librarian. Plus I had kids and, you know, constant vigilance with boys. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I call mine the hooligans for a reason. It's like, what do you do? But so I was a part-time librarian, which was great because I was always surrounded by books. And I worked at the main Phoenix Library, and I worked in children's. I started in like law and government documents, and then I shifted over to children's and loved both. I mean, I could have happily been a librarian for the rest of my life. It was just, I met my husband there. He was a librarian too. My mom was a librarian. So, I mean, I cut my teeth visiting my mom at her library. So it was just kind of, when I decided to be a writer, it was like, oh, but you have to eat.
Yeah.
What's a job? Money and write and be surrounded by librarian. So it's that was also very organic for me. It was like, oh, that works. But
that's so cool. Now, obviously, like some of that must come through with Zoe, right?
Yeah.
Are there anything in particular? Yeah.
Her love of libraries. I think she, like, even when she shows up at the Museum of Literature, she's immediately at home. Like for me, if I walk into a room, like when I go to visit somebody and they don't have any books, I'm kind of like,
yeah.
Really? None? None? Okay. And I get that people read electronically and all that, but I mean, but books are like, they're pretty now. Like they're,
they're beautiful.
I was lobbying hard to get sprayed edges for Witches because I thought that would have been cool, but my publisher was like, no. So everybody has to buy the book and make it hugely successful so I can get sprayed edges.
There we go.
In the books later. See? They need sprayed edges. So that's my goal.
Yes.
Next goal. If I have to be in my garage making them myself, I will. I'm kidding. But I think the books right now is they've really become collectible and arty and so I'm really for me books are comfort. Like I think every time I've looked at my life and it's been hard, it's always I have to find. And my husband's the same way. He's more well read than I am, which is impressive.
Yeah.
But he's so funny. Like right now, and we have too many books. Like he keeps them, I read them, and I move them out. I'm like, oh, this was great. You should read it. He's more like, great. Keeping it forever. You know? I'm always on him. Like, dude, you have to read books. Like we have thousands. It's ridiculous. But he's a mood reader. So like we're in Arizona. We had rain the other week, and the next thing I know, he's off at the Poison Pen, which is our local bookstore, and he's like, I'm getting the next Ian Rankin because it rained. And I'm like, okay. All right, honey.
Good for him.
Yeah, totally. So I think that part of Zoe is definitely me. Like, I love libraries. Every time I travel, there's a picture of me, like, at the Notting Hill Library or the Puerto Penasco Library or wherever I'm like, look at the library, you know? So, yeah, I am. And when I walk in, I'm immediately calm. You know? And it was I wrote a Library Lovers Murder Mystery Series, library. Yeah. But one of the things I found out when I was researching one of the books, and I can't remember which one it was, but when paper gets older, it releases the scent of vanilla, which I didn't know. But then, like, when you think about it and you walk into libraries, because they have so many books and they're so old, you know, there's that particular smell, and it is kind of the decomposition of the paper. It's vanilla and something else. And I remember writing it and then sending it to my editor, and she's like, I didn't know that. That is so cool. And I was like, yeah. That's why you're comforted. Like, I think vanilla is a very comforting smell. So that could be why we're all, like, in libraries, like...
Right. I mean, framing it as like the decomposition smell of a book is
decay in book form is really good. Comforting. So yeah, that's mine. So that Zoe and I are right there.
Got it. Well, and on this note of decay, we do have a lot of like very fun Halloween-y vibes, right? With the book, like we have like ghosts and like necromancy going on. Where did that come from? How did you get that idea?
That's a super good question. One of my, I guess this is kind of just who I am as a writer. One of my methods It's words, but it's like that.
Nice.
One of my methods has always, and I think it's because I skew to comedy, and I have a theory on why I write comedy. Like I'm Gen X, solid Gen X, latchkey kid, and I always think about my childhood. I mean, my parents were great. Like, spent a lot of time with us on weekends. You know, we were well attended, but we were latchkey kids. We were the kids who went home from school.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But of course, latchkey for us, we were in suburbia. Nobody locked their doors. You just walked in. You know, after school. It was like good old days. I mean, I feel like I'm 100, but we didn't like, you know. So it was like we just went home from school and we made a snack, and then we watched. I still know the lineup. It was The Monkees, all reruns, Brady Bunch, Bewitched, and the Flintstones. Nice. I mean, it was stuff like that. You know, when we got older, it was, remember they had the after-school specials, and it was like, you know, what was her name? Christy McNichol, I think, was always young, you know. So it's like 70s and 80s kids. But it was just like, you were kind of, you couldn't have a problem that lasted more than 22 and a half minutes. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it was with humor, and the problems were super short, and then they were solved and, you know, moving on. Which is probably why I have a hard time with conflict in romances, because I'm like, shouldn't this be over by now? But
you've solved it in 2 pages, and you're like, yeah. You've got 290 left to go. Like, oh, darn.
What are we gonna do to them? I know some authors are great. They're like, I'm gonna destroy my characters, and I'm like, oh, but I like them. I don't want to. You know. Yeah. So now this is what I do. I talk so much I forgot the question.
No. Zoe's magic and all of like the necromancy.
Oh yeah, where did that come from?
Things.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Okay, well, even in romance and mystery and the fantasy, when I'm writing, I'll hit that point where I'm like, this feels boring. Like, you know, I'll have the scene in my head. Like, okay, I'll try not to give too much away, but like she's home, she has a grimoire she's trying to decipher, she can't, she's alone. And then I was like, you know, what could happen here that would be exciting or, you know, interesting or unexpected? And I have to think about it for a little bit. And I kind of sift through things like, well, you know, maybe someone comes and tries to steal the book. Okay, cool. Who would that be? Okay, maybe it's like another librarian. Okay, yeah, that's boring. And I'm like, or maybe it's like an undead Viking. And then I'm like, And then I start researching, what would a Viking look like? It's like, and then you learn all these crazy things, like Viking haircuts were a fringe over their eyes, but then really shortened back, so like a reverse mullet. So it's like, I know that. And then so when another character's describing him, they're like, oh yeah, that reverse mullet, like blah 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 guy, and you're that's actually true. They did have long and short, which I thought was cool.
That's funny, yeah.
So it's just so then it becomes much. Usually when I realize it could be a boring scene or I have to shake it up, I'll sift through a bunch of ideas that I think are interesting, and then I'll do the research. So it's like when I'm not really sure how I came up with an undead Viking. I think I knew it was going to be somebody undead, but then it was like, but who would it be, and how would he be there? So then I had to research. Well, when did Vikings? Because it's set in New England. When did Vikings come to New England? Well, they didn't really come to New England, but then there's this Maine Penny that's from an ancient Viking, you know, that maybe he was in Maine, but we're not sure. But the Vikings really got to Newfoundland, so we don't know if it's like...
Yeah.
Like it's a whole thing. So then, you know, the hair of the Viking ends up in the book, and then the Maine Penny, and then that they were actually in Newfoundland. So it's, so I have a great time writing it, and there's a lot of history and nuggets of real, but then there's also, you know, an undead Viking, which is hopefully not real. So that's kind of how... Yeah, so that's my method. Like, if I feel like I'm getting bored, if I'm getting bored writing the scene, I always kind of pull back. And that's with all three genres. Like, okay.
Gotcha. You
know, like if I'm in a mystery and they're on a boat and I'm like, well, this is a lovely boat ride. What could happen? Well, let's sink the boat. Okay. Like, you're on your own. It's fun, you know, so yeah.
The way you frame it, it's like the cat's approach to writing stories, where it's like, you know, I'm gonna play with this for a minute. Okay, we're done. Knock it off the table.
Knock it off the table.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's my editor's
something in the way you said that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
That's
that's
so
accurate.
fun.
Cat, we'll call it the cat method.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay, so like this is like a behind the scenes writerly question, but like what are you doing while you're figuring out what should happen in the scene? Like are you staring at it on the screen of your laptop? Are you taking a walk? Like are you going through Google? Like
That's a really good question. I have a hard, like, I'm a very restless soul. Like, I am
mm-hmm.
this sort of wife that my husband will come home and there will suddenly be a huge hole in the wall, and he'll be like, "That wasn't there when I left," and I'll be like, "No, it's going to be a built-in bookcase. Trust me, it's going to be amazing."
Nice.
You
Yeah,
know? I built in a bookcase in the wall in the hallway, and he just was like, "Oh,
very cool.
okay." So it's, I'll go out and I'll work in the garden, or I'll walk my dogs, or I'll, the cleaning is always really good because cleaning's more boring than than the scene you're writing. If I start cleaning the oven, we're at DEFCON, 5. Like,
Right.
we're in trouble. But and I pace. But I'm just a really I'm a busy person. Like, it's writing. The biggest challenge for me with writing is sitting still for long enough. When it's going really, really well, I'm in so deep that 2 hours will go by and I'm like, oh, and then I have to get up and move. But yeah, I am the kind of person who, I'm gonna put in a garden bed. I'm gonna paint the house. Nice. Like, he came home once and I started painting the outside of the house, and he was just like, "Writing's going well." And I'm like, "I hope you like this color."
Right? Yeah.
And then, because I'm so insane, people are gonna be like, "Oh my God, bless her husband." So I painted our house because writing was not going well. This was I think this was about 10 years ago. In fact, I'm due to paint it again. I'm the kind of person, I was raised by people who are like, if you can do it yourself, you don't hire people. We're not that bougie. We do it ourselves. And I'm like, New England. But it's good. I made my boys go out and help me, so they know how to do all this stuff. But the thing about the painting the outside, the writing was not going well. I had recently retired from the library, so I was kind of freaking out because I was just like, oh my God, I have to succeed at this. I've taken the leap. So I started painting the outside of the house. I got the house half painted, so the whole front was painted, and then I never got to the back side of the house for like a year. When the writing was going badly again, my husband
right,
was like,
yeah.
Are we gonna paint the back of that? By we, I mean you. Are you gonna finish that little project?
Yeah.
Because I like taped everything off. I bought the paint sprayer. I was like good to go, and had a blast doing it. But yeah. So living with a creative person is, and he's a musician, so he's got his own crazy. So yeah.
Yeah. Presumably he gets it.
Well matched. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Now the question is though, does he get to help pick out the paint color this time around, or is it going to be another surprise?
Yeah, that's so funny because I got a wild hair. My husband, the other challenge between my husband and I is that I like change. That's why you'll get a hole in the wall in a built-in bookcase, and my husband is just like, can we just leave things where they are so I can find them? And I'm just like, no, I'm going to rearrange your whole side of the closet because I don't like it. And he's just like, oh. So we'll say, like, I'll be like, look at these 3 lovely paint chips, and he'll pick one, and then I'll paint the one I want. So. And I'll gaslight him into thinking he picked it.
Yeah. It's the illusion of choice.
You have a say. We're not going to do that, but you have a say.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Coming back around to writing. So, obviously, all of the genres that you write in, they still have kind of like a connecting thread of like warmth and coziness, right? Because like the mysteries are cozy, and then we have rom-coms, and then like cozy fantasy. Is there something that, like, what do you see as like the strength or attractions of like cozy? I know we've touched on the humor a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Anything else? Yeah.
I think I when I was just writing mysteries, I did an interview a while ago, and the person asked, the same kind of thing, like, what do you think the appeal of cozy is? And I think in romance, it's just relationships are hard. I mean, they're just so hard. And
Yeah.
even I've been married 26 years, and I want to say we've got it figured out, but I know life will come along and throw us something where we'll just be looking at each other like, and it's just,
Yeah.
it's work. I mean, a real relationship is work, and I think for romances, the coziness is knowing, like, it's the deal you make with the reader. If I'm writing a romance, it might be really ugly in the middle, but they're gonna be okay. They're gonna make it. They're gonna be happy. And I think with cozy mysteries, it's because even with the rom-coms, it's usually a setting. It's a place you want to live in. Like, you wouldn't write a romance in a town that you didn't want to live in. People were jerks. It was, so there's a certain built-in community, I think, in all of these things. So the found family, which I love. So with cozy mysteries, I think, murder is about the worst thing. Well, I think it is. It is the worst thing. I think I can be absolute about that. That you can do as a human being. So, when you're writing cozy mysteries, it's challenging because you're putting it in a lovely environment with people you like, and then this horrible thing happens. And for me, of course, I'm always cracking jokes and, not about the murder, but, the people in the murder.
Yeah.
And then you have to resolve it. So I've always kind of looked at cozy mysteries as, we see the headlines every day, the horrors, of the things that happen. We had a massive flood here in the rain, and, we lost someone down the street. And, I mean, it was just like horror. I mean, I didn't know them, but, I mean, I feel so bad. And that's daily life for all of us, So I think for me, a cozy is kind of the deal with the readers on that one is that evil exists, bad things happen, but in a cozy mystery, good is going to triumph over evil. So that's kind of your cozy world gets that deal. And then in a fantasy, I think it's the same thing. It's found family. It's the sense of community. There's usually a battle against, power or overlords or, corruption. And your heroes, the hero's journey. They have to save the day. So it's the same kind of deal. Mm-hmm. Fantasy. It's like I can't think of any fantasies where like the hero loses. It's like that would be terrible. The Hobbits.
At least not for very long.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the Hobbits need to win. Damn it.
Yeah.
So I think so. Fantasy is the same kind of thing. You're going to have interesting characters and a cool setting, and it's very cozy. And the deal with the reader again is that these magical other beings they're going to triumph in the end. I mean, I hope. We'll see.
Yeah. You have to read the book. We'll see. Yeah. On that note,
maybe.
Yeah. Wonder what'll happen. But okay. You mentioned earlier that you are working on the second in this series.
Yes.
Is that nice? Okay. Are there any other series that you want to highlight or
what am I
make sure you talk about?
Yeah. Why now? Because it's like I look at my schedule and sometimes I'm like, girl, what are you doing? But I love what I do. I'm always telling my sons, I'm like, find a job you love because you really don't work a day in your life. And I'm really lucky.
Okay.
It's the other stuff besides the writing that's hard. It's like going to and not that I mind, I like doing those, but it's like, when you're on deadline, it's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, I have to, do this and then I have to do that and the internet has changed things where you have to be present. Like I am someone who would not be online at all because I'm too busy, putting holes in my wall.
You're right. Yeah.
So it's like now it's like you have to wear the writer hat, but you have to wear the PR hat too, and so that's probably to me the biggest challenge. Nowadays, it's just like, oh, okay, you have to make time to market, and you have to make time to do all these things. Like I love coming on podcasts like yours because you're making this very easy for me. It's like, oh, I'm doing so and I get to talk to a super nice person, and Elle is lovely. So thank you. I'm very grateful to you.
And absolutely. Yeah, no, it is my pleasure.
And it's when you ask about what I'm working on, it's like, okay, so I was just looking at my schedule for next year. It's there'll be more novellas coming out, so those are in the works.
Cool.
I can't say anything about them because I should probably finish them first. But and they're like rom-com-y magical ones. Then the next mystery comes out in February. That one's called Booking for Trouble, and it's a library lovers one. And the cover is hot pink, which I love. So it's super cool. There's gonna be there'll be a cover reveal October 2nd, I think, on like social media.
Fun. Okay.
So Booking for Trouble.
That's soon too.
Yeah. I know, it's like this week. I'm like, how is it October?
Yeah. I know.
And then I have my next rom-com coming out in May, and that one's called The Summer Share. And that one is a super personal because it's kind of based on an uncle of mine who's passed away. So that one was fun to write. But it's basically a hero and a heroine both inherit a summer cottage on the Outer Banks. But they each inherit it from their grandfather, but they don't know that the other person has inherited it as well. So they land and they're like, who are you? And then they find out that they have to figure out what to do with this house. They have to figure out, why their grandfathers did all this, So that one was super fun.
Cool.
And my favorite part is there's a Great Dane in it named Dude.
Very fun.
Totally steals the book. And then the second, I think we've agreed on the title, so I think I can share it. The second fantasy will come out next October. Same characters. Cool. It's a series. This will be a series, and it's called Witches of Questionable Intent.
Ooh, fun. Okay, I like that. I like the pattern there.
Yeah. I think there's a lot I can do with this. We'll see. But yeah.
Very cool. But yeah, things do have a way of piling up, right? So I totally get what you mean there. Yeah.
Which is kind of like, and it's funny because when you do, book signings, like, so I'll be signing Witches. I'm doing a signing at the Poison Pen at the end of the month, and then I think I'm going to LA in November for another signing at the Rip Bodice. And I know I'm going to sit there and people ask me questions about the book, but I'm so thick into writing the second book. Like, I actually sent myself into a tailspin the other day where I thought the book that I'm writing, like, I'm so in the book I'm writing, I was like, oh no, did I use the wrong word for a certain thing in the first book?
Yeah.
And then I went and pulled up the manuscript and did a word search, and I'm like, it's not in there? And I'm like, oh wait, it's in the book you're writing, dummy. I knew I needed a nap at that point, but yeah, you have so many, and then I'll go talk about the mystery in February, and people will ask me about it, and because I don't know about other writers, but once I write a book, it's gone.
Yeah.
Just completely gone. I don't have
especially with how many other books you have going on.
I know, let me show you my wall, see if I can screw it.
Yeah. That's so cool. Yeah.
They're just like foam board that I stick on, but some days you feel like I can't do anything, and then I look at my wall. And this is only, not to be all like, but this is only a third of the books that I've written. Like, if I was going to do the whole room, but I don't want to. I just picked my favorite covers. These are all just my favorite covers, which I love them all, but these were the...
Fair. Yeah. You gotta have some special favorites. Yeah, you can't do the whole room, because otherwise when would you knock out a wall to have a bookcase? So,
exactly.
Or when or where.
And it would be a teeny bit obnoxious. I mean, this is mostly so that when I do like podcasts and stuff, I can be like...
Yeah, well, it's a very good background. Yeah, well, and at first when you logged in, I thought it was, people will set an image as their background.
Oh, yeah, no, this is the real deal.
But that's much better. Yeah, I like
and then
that.
I come in and my cats have knocked them down and they're on the floor, so that's great.
They have to be involved. That's what we say about our cat.
You should rearrange
he just
it,
wants
Mom.
to be involved. All right. I ask this of everybody, but what advice would you give to yourself? If you could talk to yourself when you were just starting out, what would you say?
Oh, that's such a good question. It's when I look back at when I started, I feel like I'm actually gonna call my own self out. I was a straight up like coward when I first started writing. I didn't tell anybody I was trying to be a writer. I didn't share my work. I didn't join writing groups. I didn't go to conferences. It's like I was like in this self exiled Emily Dickinson, don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was just like I didn't know if I could do it, or I didn't want people to tell me that I wasn't smart. Not that I see, and that's what's so crazy is I have nothing but amazing friends. I don't pick losers. My family,
That's good.
I vet people. My
Yeah.
family's incredibly supportive. I mean, all of them. Every member of my family is just like, you got this. But I was so, I don't know. I was just lacking confidence, maybe, or just, I don't know, afraid of failing. So I didn't really tell anybody. I think a handful of people knew that I was trying to write, but I didn't do the things I should have done. I mean, I took a couple of writing classes in college, but you don't learn to write in college. I genuinely think the best things I ever did when I started was to enter writing contests where you would get feedback from professional writers. So, and it was back when RWA was like amazing and had chapters everywhere. And I entered a few contests, and you would send in 10 pages, and you'd get like read, from like 10 different judges, and it would cost like $25. And they would just be like, "Girl, you're head hopping. What are you doing? Whose head am I in?"
Yeah.
Oh, that's the thing, And here I took college classes in writing. Nobody talked about that, So like they came from it from a really getting published. It's a business. Take it seriously. Do the work. And that was the best thing I ever did. So, very quietly, I did join like Romance Writers of America, Mystery Writers of America, entered contests, got feedback. But other than that, I didn't go to the conferences. I didn't meet people. It's like I could have, looking back, I'm like, I could have built like a community, And the thing is, so many places have writing communities. So I think if I was to say one thing to my young self, would be like, join groups, meet your people,
Yeah.
Get out there. Don't be such a chicken. So yeah, that would have been. Don't be a coward.
Fair.
I think I started writing for real, like actual books. I started writing when I was 25, and I finally got published when I was 32. So it was 7 years, and in that 7 years, I think I wrote 5 full books, and couldn't sell them, couldn't move them, again, because I wasn't in the community. I wasn't meeting people. I wasn't doing what I should have done.
Right.
And the thing about writers that I consistently, they will always help. I mean, I'm sure there are a few who will not help.
There's got to be some.
Yeah. I don't want to say like, oh, Rebecca, go knock on Rebecca Yaros's door. I'm sure she'll be happy to help you.
Yeah.
I don't mean that. But what I do mean is, I've been really lucky when I did start going to conferences. Like the very first conference I went to was when I moved to Arizona in 1992, and it was a romance writing conference. I was like, oh, I'm going to go. I'm going to do this. And the very first person I met was Nora Roberts at the bar.
Wow.
It was just like, and she was so nice, and she was just like, go get it, girl. And I was like, okay, and because all writers are like that. They know exactly what it's like to be alone in your head hours upon hours. They know what it's like, how hard it can be to put the words down, and they always, like, most of them will always send the elevator down for you. Like if you ask them, I mean, you can't say, here's my manuscript, send it to your agent and edit it, and they're not going to do that, but they will say, what are you working on? This is I have proposals I will share with people. Like, if you don't know how to write a proposal, I'll send you mine so that you can see how I got in. I mean, I can do stuff like that, And most writers, I think, across the board are like, yeah, how can I help,
Yeah, absolutely. That's so cool. Okay. Final question. What's one win you've had in the past week? Could be anything, big or small.
Okay, so I mentioned that I'm kind of a thrifter, I'm a very much recycle, use, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Love it. Yeah.
So I'm big on, like, thrifting clothing and, whatever, because I really genuinely believe that we have to keep stuff out of the landfill. Like, I'm so freaked out about the garbage out there. Like, I really try not to use plastic. I'm trying, to... I compost for my garden, so I'm a huge advocate on recycle, reuse, blah, blah, blah. But here's the other flip side to that, is that like fast fashion and stuff like that is terrible. Like you can't buy poorly made things and expect them to have like longevity. And, I wish they would just stop making garbage stuff. So my win, I know, right? It's just like, there's so many things. Where do we start?
Yeah. I know. That's a whole other podcast.
We can start an environmental one. I got tips,
Yeah.
But but my win was that I needed a new pair of boots because I actually wore out my old ones because I live in Arizona, so you kind of got to have a pair of cowboy boots. So I was looking and looking, and then I found a very, very like designer bougie pair of boots. And they're like blue with silver stars on them. And I just fell in love with them. And I got them for $30.
Nice.
And they fit perfect.
Ooh, well done.
So that was my win. I scored a pair of boots. That's my win. But I was thinking about it, like they're well made. They'll probably outlive me. And they're super cheap. And now they won't go to a landfill.
Yeah, and they fit. The fact that they fit perfectly. That's very nice.
You put one on. You always put. You know how your feet are different sizes? It's like I always leave with a slightly bigger foot. And I was like, oh my god, it's a little tight. No, because cowboy boots, are tight. Like putting them on is always kind of, it's a workout, to get past that heel point. But I got that one in, and I'm like, oh, we did it. We got it. So. Cowboy boots, that's my win.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. Now, I will have links, of course, like for you, for your book and everything in the show notes for people to check out.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. Oh my goodness. This was so much fun.
It was. You're delightful. And I love your headphones. They're very... That's totally my vibe.
I have fun with them. I figure I've got to have fun, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much once more. And listeners, I will talk to you next time. Cozy Alchemy is brought to you by Authors on the Air, and our theme music is by Cyberwave Orchestra. For everything else, blame Elle. You can find her online at ellehartford.com.